Hornetsecurity, we build security solutions that are feature-rich, powerful, easy to use, and bring value to our customers. Now that said, we're always on the lookout, and we love hearing stories about how our product sets have brought real value in real-world situations. And today I have the pleasure of sitting down and talking with Paul and Michael from NatPoint, one of our partners, about how Hornetsecurity products have been a game changer for their organization. Let's take a look. Well, everyone, welcome back for another Hornetsecurity video. I'm outside of my normal location here on the road, but wanted to have a conversation with Paul and Michael from NatPoint. We've got a lot of great stuff to talk about today, guys, and kind of talk about how you're using Hornetsecurity in your stack to not only help you out in your business, but help you bring value to your customers, right? But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Before we go that way, why don't you go ahead and kind of introduce us, talk about yourself and what you guys do. So I guess, Paul, I'll start with you.
Okay, so we're from a company in the UK called NatPoint, and we are looking after, we're sort of an outsourced IT support company, and we look after upwards of 100 customers who are in the small to medium sector. And, you know, I'm ranging that from sort of 20 user up to 150 user type size companies. And we are basically their IT department. So outsourced IT, you know, most of them, almost all of them have no IT skills of their own, and they rely on us to bring all their IT together. So that involves talking to other suppliers of IT services, you know, be it broadband, hardware, software, web, integrating all of that together and making sure that that all runs for the customer nicely as their IT department would.
Right. Being that trusted IT advisor for your customers, especially in the SMB space, can be especially challenging. So, very cool. And Michael, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Right. So I'm by profession, I'm an accountant. I got into IT fairly quickly after my career change. We've been running NatPoint now for about 20 years. So Paul's a bit conservative. We've actually got more or less 130 customers. And so it's growing quite quickly at the moment. The key thing is for us is to find, you know, really good, efficient solutions that we can serve our customers well. You know, we're always on the lookout for things which, you know, make our lives easier, whilst trying to deliver really good services to our customer base.
Very cool. So I appreciate you guys kind of coming and talking to us about how you're utilizing our services in your stack. And I want to start by talking about the CP, or the control panel. For those watching that may not be familiar with Hornetsecurity, all our solutions can be managed through a single control pane, a single pane of glass called our control panel. And I kind of wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about how that's brought value to your business, but also to your end customers. You know, I've spent some time in the trenches as an MSP myself, and I always enjoyed single pane of glass when I could, but I always like to hear real world stories from our customers that are in the trenches day in and day out. So, Paul, I'll pick on you again.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good interface, and we like the ability to switch easily between the different customers. So, you know, being able to change the scope very easily, and you're able to look up a new customer and change their settings, etc., do whatever you need to do very quickly by switching from one customer to another. And it's also intuitive. So, you know, for our engineers, it's very easy for them to pick it up and see where things are going. You know, things like the live tracking, being able to see where emails have gone to, what their status is, etc.
So can I just...
It's a good interface. Yeah.
Yeah, can I just come in there? I mean, the other thing which I think is really, really useful is the ability to grant customers access to it in a sort of way which is very safe. They can't make any changes, but they can see the reporting. That's time saving for us, because it means we don't have to go and deliver those reports. They can get them themselves. That also is very critical, and I think it's a nice feature of the control panel.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, because I've been in the room with some of our UI designers in the past, and it's great. I'm sure they would love to hear the feedback that it's helpful in that regard and easy for you guys to use. So I'll be sure to share that. I'm glad to hear you guys mention that. And I imagine in terms of an MSP, it really helps you guys save time so that you can support more of your customers, handle more issues with some of the time savings in play, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because some of the things, as you say, are now self-service, so people can go and block an email or add an allow email address themselves, because they have that facility, changing their quarantine reporting settings, for example. So we do try and encourage people to do that.
Good to hear. Well, my understanding is that you're also utilizing the services that are contained within our Total Protection Enterprise backup solution.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that particular product stack? What are your favorite parts? What do you like? What do your customers find particularly valuable? Michael, I'll start with you this time.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's one of the key factors. Beforehand, you've got to look at what we're replacing. What Hornet replaces. I mean, we were using perhaps 2 or 3 different sorts of products to address all the issues within Hornet. And the fact that we have a single product, which is now doing the backup of email, doing the backup of SharePoint, doing the email security, doing the permission manager, doing all that. I mean, it's effectively it's one invoice line for a customer. It's very efficient for us, having to have a single product which delivers the entire Microsoft 365 security. That for us was one of the key reasons why we've adopted it so rapidly and changed the products we were previously using.
Gotcha. Paul, anything you want to add to that?
I totally agree. It's that combination, and we're replacing, as Michael said, three different products generally. So often with our customers, they've already got 2 or 3 of those services, and we're replacing, all of those with one product. So, and it's one product. It's not only that, because it's one product that actually has more functionality than the 2 or 3 products that they are replacing.
I mean, the other thing I really like to add here is working with Hornet from a commercial point of view is really been a very pleasurable experience. We have some odd customer bases. So we've got the charitable sector where we're quite heavily we work a lot with not-for-profits. If you just rely upon the LDAP reading the license count in Microsoft 365, there'll be a lot of licenses there which because they're free, they don't bother to cancel, and therefore we're getting very high license counts on some of these products, and there's no real easy way of changing that. With Hornet, we can say, right, there are 100 mailboxes, but there's only 40 staff, and now you guys will bill us for 40 users. That just makes our life so much easier, and that's a massively valuable thing for us. Because beforehand,
that's good to hear.
Time we'd have to spend trying to contact those other vendors, get them to reduce the license count because these aren't real licenses. I mean, that's painful. We just agree the numbers up front, and that's it, simple. And the bidding process, therefore, is very easy.
That's good to hear, because I having been in the MSP space myself, I always put myself back in that mindset, right? And I absolutely remember from an IT perspective, as a tech in the trenches, like having to sit down and, okay, I would check my backup application over here, and okay, now I have to go look at my email security over here, and all these disparate tools that there's an overhead involved in switching between different vendors not just on the tech side, but to your point, on the operational side, right? The licensing side, there's a kind of a hidden cost there, right? So, glad you brought that up. Definitely. One of the other kind of, I don't want to say new because it's not brand new, but one of the newer aspects of our solution stack is security awareness training. So our security awareness service here in our stack at Hornetsecurity. And again, you think about all the different threats that are out there on the market today, the different vectors that threat actors are using to gain inroads into organizations. The human aspect of security becomes critically important, right? Are you guys utilizing the security awareness service inside of your solution stack at NatPoint?
Yeah, we are. We have an increasing number of customers who are now adopting that. And again, the ease of implementation is what makes it viable. We've used other products in the past. You've then got to try to reconfigure Office 365 to work with them, to not block them, because that's already been done when we set up that customer. It's just incredibly easy to go and implement. And so the implementation speed is really good. We've found the product, and the stats it produces are really vital. In other words, you can see who are the staff who continually make the same mistake over and over again. You can direct the training towards them. You can alert their managers that these guys are just not taking this stuff seriously, and that's where the vulnerability exists. So I think we're going to sell more and more of the security awareness training and service. Really,
I'm glad to hear you guys see value in it. Paul, before I move on to the next point, is there anything you wanna chime in there with?
No, that's it's. I'd go along with that. And what we're trying to do is, as Michael said, expanding on that, just encourage people to go and do the training. So, we've seen in the past that some of the staff don't necessarily understand what it is, and they, haven't prioritized doing those training videos. And they're only a few minutes, they only last a few minutes each one. But the information that you're getting over in that is very worthwhile.
Yeah, I know great pains were taken to make sure that the training content was very consumable, short, concise, and it comes at that teachable moment, right? So let's say I always pick on Bob from accounting in my examples. Sorry, Michael, I know you're an accountant. This is no reflection on accountants in general, but that's just always my go-to example, right? Is Bob in accounting. And, that teachable moment when Bob from accounting clicks on one of the messages from our phishing simulation, our phishing simulation emails, I've seen some solutions on the market that I feel like they almost shame the user, at that moment. Like, oh, you failed this. Go watch this hour-long training video, right? And I mean, it almost feels punitive, right? And again, putting my IT pro hat back on, I love that our solution really gives them just the concise information they need at that teachable moment. Like, oh, hey, you clicked on this email. What would have tipped you off is look at this address here. Look at this here. Here's urgency words here. So
actually, that's a really interesting point, because I had a discussion today. We were looking at the radar diagram that it produces and understanding actually that this organization was responding to, fear. That's what was the big thing. And actually be able to go and see that and actually tell the organization sort of what sort of psychological crevices they're falling into. It was fascinating, interesting. They were really, really excited by that. They were sort of they couldn't believe we could actually give them a profile of the sort of psychological profile of their user base and what was making them click on things.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of helps them come up with, okay, if we're responding to fear, if I'm a business owner and I hear that, like, okay, now my gears start churning. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to take action to address that somehow, right? So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. That's a fantastic example. So, well, with the time we have left in this video, there's two other areas I want to touch on really quick. First one, I at least want to mention it, kind of get your guys' thoughts on this. I'm not sure if you're using it in your stack yet or not. One of our absolute newest products is permission management for SharePoint and OneDrive for Business, right? So we think about how the modern workplace is functioning in the world, right? I need to share a file over here with James to, maybe we're collaborating on something, or I work with an external designer if I'm a marketer, right? All these different ways and how easy it is for me to share access to files from within SharePoint or OneDrive for Business. And ultimately, this creates a problem for organizations. They have to kind of wrap their hands around, right? To not only understand what's being shared, how, and who has access to it. And was that something that you guys are kind of thinking of and looking at as, business owners and for your customers? Paul, I'll start with you on this one.
Yes, definitely. And when we first heard about this product going back several months, there was one particular customer that sprang to mind who had been using SharePoint for several years, and our feeling was that they would have a proliferation of shares going all over the place to all sorts of people, shares that have probably been around for, years, not just months, and probably needed a big tidy up. So that's one of our objectives, to try and do that with this company. We haven't actually quite got around to doing that, but that's, it was the thing that really came to mind. First of all, is that I'm sure that company is going to really like this product, because we suspect that their SharePoint is a little bit out of control.
And that puts it perfectly, because I've come across so many SharePoint implementations that, as you put it, are, quote, out of control, right? Because it's just so easy to use and consume. And before you know it, you've got the old term that we used to use was SharePoint sprawl. You get SharePoint sprawl eventually, right? So
yeah.
Here you get link sharing sprawl, right?
Yeah, and it's internal as well as external. So what we find is, as well as sharing externally outside the company, people share things internally with their colleagues. So when you're, if they want to give access to a particular document, rather than telling them to just go and have a look at this document that maybe that person's already got access to, they share it.
Right.
And that's just creating another unnecessary share, which doesn't even need to be there a lot of times.
Right. And again, from a commercial perspective, it's a great product where we can sell our services on, because this needs to be implemented in a sophisticated way. We need to understand what their parameters are, and therefore there's a lot of consultancy that goes with the implementation of it. So we're able to, on the back of the product, sell our services, which again is a perfect match between what you're providing and into an MSP who wants to go and sell their services on top of just the license fee.
It's good to hear. No, whenever I'm talking about this particular piece of our stack, I always tell the story that the product actually was kind of born of our own internal struggles with the SharePoint and OneDrive for Business permissions management, right? So, I speak with our development leads regularly, and I remember the guy I'm thinking of. I remember him saying, "There's got to be a better way," right? So I'm glad to hear that you guys are kind of on the same mind there, and glad to hear that this is a possible solution that could be useful for you guys. So. The last thing I want to wrap up with is I always like to talk about our support team. And I always have good things to say about our support team, but kind of wanted to gauge your guys' experience thus far and just working with support, right? Because for any MSP, any customer, right? I mean, support is important when things aren't working or you need help with implementation. Support needs to be there, right? And I just kind of wanted to gauge what your guys' kind of what your thoughts were and whether that's been useful for you guys. And Michael, I'll start with you on this one.
Okay, so I'm not on the technical side, so I'll revert over to Paul on that one. But I just want to say that from an account management perspective, we've got a great account manager, and you know, if we need anything to happen, he's jumped straight on it. And again, that is absolutely vital. That's not what you find in most large, you know, organizations. The fact that we can speak to somebody, get an immediate response, we know it's going to get escalated. Absolutely fantastic. Over to Paul. Paul's probably dealt on the support side, so I'll pass to him on that.
Yeah, I first of all wanted to echo exactly the same thing about James. You're always there to help us when we need it. But yeah, the support team as well. I've had, you know, good responses from them, pretty quick responses. You know, both by email and even on the phone when it's urgent cases, so we can pick up the phone and get you know, get an answer to something when you need it urgently. And that's exactly what you need. You know, we don't need help every day of the week. You know, we're fairly self-sufficient, but when you do need it, when something's going wrong or something bad is happening, then you need to know that you've got that backup behind you to solve an issue. And it's a breath of fresh air after some of the other companies that we deal with, including Microsoft, who are impossible to get hold of sometimes.
That's not the first time I've heard that, but that's, yeah. Well, guys, I really appreciate you taking the time to kind of come and talk to us today. It's always getting, you know, like I said earlier, the in the trenches perspective on this stuff. So I really appreciate you guys being here and taking the time. So I know you're both busy. You've got customers to take care of, so I'll let you go. But I want to say thanks to you both for being here.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah.
So those of you watching, you know, appreciate you spending some time with us and watching this video. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel and our socials. I'll include a link on the bottom, depending on the platform you're watching on. They might be over here or underneath. Just be sure to check out the comments section and the description of this video for some supporting links and information. Other than that, thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Have a good one.